Hey guys, and welcome to a new Dungeon Defenders 2 video. I'm your host Mr. Peter, and let's answer the ultimate question: which tower is better, the booster or the buff beam? Both towers have the same functionality. They provide a percentage of their own stats and give it to the other towers. In this video, we will do vigorous tests and compare stats to see which tower is more viable and overall better. I've created a comparison graph to show you guys both of their stats side by side. We have 5 categories: DU space, range, given stats, multiplier, and diversity. We will go through each category and whoever has the most ticks will be the winner. Alright, let's begin. The booster costs 40 DU and the buff beam costs 60 DU. Really straightforward, self-explanatory. The booster is cheaper by 20 DU. The booster wins the DU category. The booster's base kit range is 713 units. However, if you want to have a bigger radius, you'll have to sacrifice a shard slot or a mod slot to gain some range. A defense range mod will increase the range to 879 units, and if you add a gilded deadly strikes, that will increase the range to 1250 units. You have the option to use vicious strikes instead of deadly strikes, and that would increase the range to 1439 units. The booster has a nice circular range where all the towers within the circle will be buffed. A lot of people prefer this as you have a lot of space and freedom to place your towers down. The buff beam has a fixed range. I'm not entirely sure what the figures are, but I definitely know it's almost the size of a booster with a defense range mod, so I'm assuming it's about 850 units. You can extend the range, but at a cost of DU space. It can be stretched out to 1700 units. You can extend it even more, but it's not that practical. The buff beam has a very strict buff zone, so the space is very limited, but you can easily fit the meta build within the buff zone. They both have their ups and downs, but I'm going to give this one to the buff beam because its base kit range is much larger than the booster. From default, both of them give the same amount of stats. Now if we add the same medallion and shards like destruction and defensive critical damage, they both still give the same amount of stats, which is surprising because you would think the buff beam will give more stats because, you know, it costs more. Now the question is, how much stats do both towers give? The attack damage of the booster is 220 and it gives 22. From glance, that is 10%. To know how to get 10% of a value, you always move the decimal to the left. That's basic maths. For the crit damage for the buff beam is 40% and it gives 10%. 10% of 40 is 4%, again basic maths. So both towers can give 10% of their defense power and 4% of their crit damage. So both towers win the given stats category. We now know that both towers give the same stats. However, if we upgrade both of them to tier 2, which is 1 star, the stats are different. Both of these towers have different multipliers. To calculate the multiplier, you have to get the new number divided by the old number, and that should give you the answer. The buff beam has a 1.05 multiplier for both defense power and crit damage, whereas the booster has a 1.1 multiplier for both defense power and crit damage. Also, when you upgrade the booster, the health increases and the damage protection increases too. If you upgrade both towers again, the figure is roughly the same, but the booster still has the higher multiplier. The higher the multiplier, the more stats it's gonna give. So to answer the question, the booster has a better multiplier and you get a lot more benefits when you upgrade it. They both can use the standard 3 power, crit or tenacity. However, the booster has a unique mod and it also has 2 unique shards. The booster has lots of build variations, but unfortunately the buff beam doesn't have many. Judging by the comparison graph, it's very clear that the booster is the winner. It's cheaper, it gives the same amount of stats, it has a better multiplier, and it has a diverse set of builds. The only advantage of having the buff beam is not using a mod or shard to increase its range. However, you can easily fit the meta build without using any range add-ons. This doesn't mean you shouldn't use the buff beam, you still have the option to use both to super buff other towers, but of course you still need to somehow manage your DU space. If the buff beam costs 40 DU, then the tower will be more viable. Hopefully the devs will dip into the game again and buff some towers. But that'll be all for this video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did enjoy this video, hit that like button and subscribe for more DD2 content. If you also want to know how to build your booster and buff beam, I have the link in the description below. Also, if you want me to do more of these type of videos, let me know in the comments below. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.